First off, Isaiah McKenzie goes to the IR. That was a guy that a lot of us thought was going to make the roster. We talked about on Tuesday that he wasn't there for practice on Tuesday when they had to make the cuts, and the speculation was that he was going to get cut and not make the roster, which was kind of a little bit of a shocker because he's got the prior history with Dable and Shane, because he's a returner, and we've been trying to figure out who's been the kick/punt returner for this season. He's a guy who provides something on offense, unlike Gunnar Olszewski, who is the other person that people look at for that potential role there. But yeah, no, the reason he wasn't at practice is because he hurt. So he's got a foot injury. They really wouldn't go into much more besides that. He's out for the season. This is not one of those IRs where you can come back after a couple weeks or so. Like, he done. And because of that, we don't know if you will ever see him in a Giants uniform again. I mean, that's something.
It's upsetting.
Yeah. So, we'll have to see what happens there overall, but it's a little bit odd to see, a guy that you had a lot of hype for as that, and then all of a sudden get hurt and gone with just an IR. Because usually you think 1-year deal, you'd give him an injury settlement or something and move on, but for whatever reason, they're doing it this way. So
maybe they're hoping to have him towards the end of the year, but if it's season end,
I
don't know.
He's done. There's no end of the year for him. He's done. I guess it's maybe a move as a favor to him as opposed to cutting some of the money there. So, and I see John in the comments saying my mic's a little low here. I'm using my backup stuff here on vacation. So, John, I made an adjustment. Let us know in the comments if it's better there, because I just did an adjustment of the mic there. Let's get into this second one here. Diontae Johnson, also on the IR there, guys. And this is the guy that we didn't have a lot of necessarily hope coming into the season for him, but once training camp got underway, the season got underway, there was a whole lot more hope there for him. This was a guy who, I wouldn't say dominated in that first preseason game, but looked a lot better than people expected at that point, It was a guy that came in, was on the practice squad last year. We brought him kind of out of nowhere, out of small school, and nobody really had those high expectations, but all camp-wise, you heard, Diontae Johnson looks good. Diontae Johnson looks good. Diontae Johnson's now working with the first team overall. There was that big performance he had in the Detroit Lions game, the first preseason game. And, he had a sack, he had a tackle for loss. People got really, psyched out, and then realized he got injured that game. And we haven't seen him since. So he's officially on the IR as well. And he has, though, the designation to return. So hopefully he's going to be back on track after 4 weeks to be back there. We'll have to see what happens, because obviously things do happen in recoveries where you just never know if he's going to not going to have a setback of any kind, if he's going to need a couple more weeks after that, or if the Giants say, you know what, we think it's going to take much more than 4 weeks, and we're just going to shut you down for the year at that point and come back next year and see what happens. All those are possible, but is a really young player at that point that we see a lot of positives in with the little bit we saw this preseason and a lot of the reports we got at a camp. So hopefully after 4 weeks he's back and doing good, because this guy was literally pushing Micah McFadden for the starting position at linebacker there. So, alrighty, let's get into next one. Austin Schlottman probably owns the record for the longest last name in the Giants roster ever. So backup center who a lot of people didn't think was going to make the roster. We talked about on Tuesday, he made the roster. That was an expectation of ours because of the injuries to John Michael Schmitz. This was a guy who literally is a pure center. So we talked about it where you got an injury to JMS at center. Greg Van Roten's been playing at center as kind of a backup at times, but he's not a center. He's a guard. You want him to start at guard. So Austin Schlottman got kept because he is a true center. He started a lot for the Vikings the last couple of years with the injuries they had at center. So he's got experience at it. And then you keep Greg Van Roten at the spot he's supposed to be at the right guard position there. So, we'll have to see if they bring somebody else in at the center position now, because center was a decent spot for us because you had Schlottman, because you had Van Roten, you could move in case of an emergency. But now instead we got an injury, I don't want to say injury prone, but at center with injury history, at least his first year and his second camp now. and we don't really have a true center to back him up. That sometimes can be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm just being overly cautious.
That's the team we need to be.
Yeah. So, alrighty, guys. We got one more person here for the IR. And another guy who made the roster and then kind of disappeared real quick. And that's Matthew Adams, who's also gone off to the IR. So he's also like Schlapman and Schlapman and Johnson, I should say, was put on the IR with the designation to return after 4 weeks there if need be. So as long as he's healthy and everything, after a few weeks he'll be back on this roster, no problem. And when I mean that, I mean back on the roster. He's a special team ace. This guy's one of the better special team tacklers in the league. He's got a pretty extensive history now with the Colts and the Browns doing that, and that's why the Giants signed him. He basically replaced Cam Brown for us this year. That's basically what his role is going to be. And we still have Cutter Coughlin, obviously, who's another special team ace as well. But this guy was supposed to be an upgrade on the special teams, which has needed it. We've talked about it for a few years.
Much needed.
Special teams has not been as good as we want it to be the last few years. That's why Thomas McGahee is gone. That's why we're having a new, special team coordinator here. So it is a quad injury. Again, same as the other injuries. We don't know too much details really for you guys there, unfortunately. Until the regular season starts, the Giants aren't required to give a ton of information. So as soon as we know anything more, we'll let you guys know from there.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.